Right now, somewhere in America, someone is lying awake at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, exhausted, but wired. They have a warm bed, a fridge full of food, air conditioning, and a phone with every answer in human history sitting in their pocket. And yet they feel worse than a person who lived 20,000 years ago, slept on the ground, and didn't know if they'd eat tomorrow. That's not a guess. That's what the research actually shows. Ancient humans, by several real measures, were calmer, more connected, more physically satisfied, and in some cases just plain happier than we are. Not because their life was easy. It wasn't. It was brutal. But it solved problems our modern life never even tries to solve. Today we are breaking down exactly why, and what it means for how messed up modern life secretly is. Before we go further, let's be honest about what we are actually claiming, because ancient humans were happier sounds like a caveman fantasy at first. We are not saying prehistoric life was easy. People died from infections we'd treat with a $4 prescription. Childbirth killed mothers. Winters killed the old and the weak. That part of ancient life was genuinely brutal, and nobody's asking you to trade your dentist for that. But happiness researchers don't just measure comfort. They measure things like, how connected do you feel to other people? How much control do you have over your day? How much physical movement is built into your life without you having to force it? How much uncertainty about your basic survival are you carrying around? And does your brain actually resolve that uncertainty at the end of each day? Or does it just carry forward, day after day, for years? And on almost every one of those measures, connection, autonomy, movement, and honestly resolving your stress instead of just accumulating it, ancient humans were doing better than the average American today. Let's go through it, one piece at a time. Here's a number that breaks people's brains the first time they hear it. Hunter-gatherer societies. Studied by anthropologists, real living groups. Like the Hadza in Tanzania and they, Kung in the Kalahari, spend roughly 15 to 20 hours a week on actual subsistence work. Hunting, gathering, food prep. That's it. Compare that to the average American workweek, over 40 hours of paid work, plus commuting, plus emails answered at dinner, plus the mental load of a job that doesn't actually end when you clock out because your phone buzzes at 9 p.m. with a Slack message. Ancient humans weren't lazy. They just didn't create extra work for themselves. When the food was gathered and the shelter was maintained, the day was done. There was no boss inventing a stretch goal for next quarter. There was no infinite scroll of tasks. The work had a bottom. Ours doesn't. And this isn't just about hours. It's about mental closure. When your work has a clear end, your brain gets to switch off. When it doesn't, when there's always one more email, one more notification, your nervous system never fully downshifts. That chronic low-grade I should be doing something hum in the back of your head? Ancient humans mostly didn't have that. Their stress was sharp and situational. A lion nearby, a storm coming, and then it was over. Ours is dull and constant, and it never fully resolves. That's a massive difference in quality of life that has nothing to do with how comfortable your couch is. In 2023, the US Surgeon General declared loneliness a public health epidemic, officially, comparing its health impact to smoking. 15 cigarettes a day. Think about that. Being lonely is now considered roughly as dangerous to your body as a pack of cigarettes. Now picture ancient human life. A typical hunter-gatherer band was somewhere between 25 and 150 people, a number that shows up so consistently across cultures that anthropologists named it Dunbar's number, the theoretical limit of stable relationships a human brain can meaningfully track. Inside that band, you weren't just acquainted with people, you depended on them. And they depended on you. Every single day, for survival. You knew their voice, their walk, their moods. There was no such thing as being anonymous. Compare that to now. The average American reports having fewer close friends than any generation in modern history. Many people go entire days interacting mostly with screens. We have more connections on social media than any human in history has ever had, and somehow feel more isolated than any human in history has ever felt. Ancient humans didn't have therapy, but they had something therapy tries to recreate: constant, unavoidable, physically present community. If you were struggling, someone noticed by the end of the day. Because they were sitting 3 feet away from you around the same fire. Nobody scrolled past your pain in a feed. Ancient humans didn't have gym memberships, fitness trackers, or leg day. And they didn't need any of it. A typical hunter-gatherer walked somewhere between 5 and 9 miles a day, just as a normal part of finding food and water. That movement wasn't a chore they scheduled, it was just life. Modern humans, on the other hand, sit for an average of more than 9 hours a day. We now pay money to walk on a machine that goes nowhere, in a room, after driving there in a car. If you describe that to an ancient human, they would think you'd lost your mind. And it's not just about calories or fitness, movement outdoors, in natural light, with a clear physical goal, does something to the brain that treadmill scrolling doesn't. It regulates mood-related hormones, improves sleep quality, and reduces anxiety in ways researchers are still trying to fully explain. Ancient humans got all of that for free, built directly into their survival. We have to reverse engineer it and buy a $40 a month membership to get a fraction of it back. Ancient humans never once thought about cheat days. There was no such concept, because there was no diet culture. There was just food, real, whole, hard-earned food, and hunger. A signal that meant something and got resolved by eating until you were full. Today, we've built an entire industry around convincing people to distrust their own hunger. Diet trends, calorie counting apps, guilt around dessert, entire aisles of ultra-processed food engineered specifically to override your body's natural "I'm full" signal. The result is a strange, uniquely modern relationship with food, where eating, one of the most basic biological acts a human can do, is loaded with anxiety, shame, and decision fatigue. Ancient humans ate when they were hungry, stopped when they weren't, and moved on with their day. Their food had no ingredient list because it didn't need one. It was just an animal, a root, a berry, a fish. Simple in, simple out. No labels, no guilt. This one sounds dark, but stay with it, because it might be the most important point in this whole video. Ancient humans lived with death close by. Infant mortality was brutal. Life expectancy, when it wasn't dragged down by that infant mortality, could still mean losing people constantly to injury, infection, or childbirth. Death wasn't hidden away in a hospital wing. It happened in the same shelter you slept in front of everyone, as a normal part of the tribe's life. That constant closeness to death did something modern life has almost entirely engineered away. It kept people present. When you know, on some level, that tomorrow is never guaranteed. You don't waste a day scrolling past your own life. Anthropologists, who've spent time with modern hunter-gatherer societies consistently, report something surprising. These communities often show far less chronic anxiety about the future than industrialized populations, even though their day-to-day physical risk is dramatically higher. We've done the opposite. We've pushed death almost completely out of sight, and in doing so, we've also pushed the present moment out of focus. We plan retirement decades in advance while feeling anxious about a day we haven't even lived through yet. Ancient humans, paradoxically, closer to death than any of us, were often better at actually living. Before electric light, humans didn't sleep in one solid 8-hour block. Historical and anthropological evidence suggests many pre-industrial humans slept in 2 phases, a first sleep, a quiet waking period in the middle of the night, and a second sleep, all timed loosely around sunset and sunrise. Now compare that to modern sleep, blue light from screens delaying melatonin, alarm clocks violently cutting sleep cycles short, caffeine masking exhaustion just long enough to get through a commute. We've engineered an environment that fights our biological sleep architecture at almost every step. And then we wonder why half the country reports chronic fatigue. Ancient humans' sleep wasn't perfect. Cold, predators, and physical discomfort disrupted it plenty. But their sleep environment wasn't actively working against their biology the way a phone lit up at midnight is. Now, before anyone starts building a hut in their backyard, let's be clear about what we are not saying. We are not saying ancient life was better overall. Modern medicine has saved more lives than any tribe of any era could imagine. Antibiotics, vaccines, safe childbirth, painkillers, these are not small things. And nobody sane is trading them away. What we are saying is this: modern life solved almost every physical survival problem humans have ever faced, and in doing so, accidentally created a brand new category of problems ancient humans never had to deal with. Chronic loneliness, chronic low-grade stress that never resolves, food anxiety, movement deficiency, and a strange disconnection from death that leaves us anxious about a future we haven't even lived yet. We didn't get worse at being human. We just built a world that no longer automatically takes care of the parts of being human that used to take care of themselves. So the next time you're lying awake at 2 a.m., exhausted but wired, remember, it's not because something is wrong with you. It's because you're a 300,000-year-old animal trying to survive inside a world built in the last 100 years. Your brain and body are still running ancient software on modern hardware, and sometimes they just don't sync up. If this made you see your own daily life a little differently, hit subscribe, because next week we are breaking down exactly how ancient humans survived childbirth with zero modern medicine, and it's more incredible than you think. Drop a comment. Which one of these hit you the hardest? The work hours, the loneliness, or the sleep? I read every single one. See you in the next one.